Okay. And I am going to attempt to record this webinar. Now, I have a pretty much a 50-50 chance of doing it correctly, so I don't promise that the recording will be available, but if everything works out correctly, if it records the screen correctly, and if it records the audio, then I will make that available to everyone on the webinar as well. I think I will have enough time at the end to do a Q&A session, so I'll stay on for 15 or 20 minutes afterwards and answer any questions that you may have afterwards as well. So you may want to stick around to the end for that, and we'll go from there. There's also a chat window. So if you have any questions during the webinar and you just want to go ahead and type those questions in while they're fresh on your mind, I will get to those questions at the end of the webinar. But I won't be pulling up my question window until the end of the webinar, so I'm not distracted by the questions as we go through the slides. So just want to let you know that. And if everyone can hear and see me okay, then I am going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, I guess I should do my introductions here. So I'm Stan Smith. Pushing Social is my blog. I also hang out at the Pushing Social Mastermind, the PS Mastermind, which is my online library that has pretty much everything that I have recorded or have written up to date. I'm the co-author of Born to Blog, along with my good friend Mark W. Schaefer, who runs the Grow blog over at Businesses Grow. And I have been extremely fortunate and blessed to have been awarded the top 10 social media blog for 2 years in a row, for 2012 and 2013 by Social Media Examiner. I've also presented at Social Media Examiner's online conferences as well. One thing I want you to know is that Pushing Social is blog based. So 100% of my marketing starts on the blog, and all my clients have come through the blog in one way or another. So I just want to let you know that I'm walking the talk, so to speak, with Pushing Social. And we're on track this year to earning well over $100,000 in revenue. So Pushing Social is my primary way of earning income. And I have 3 strapping and growing fast boys, a mortgage just like you. And I'm able to pay all that and be able to provide a good quality of life for my family through Pushing Social. The reason I tell you all of this is so you know that this is not theory for me. This is practical experience that I'm sharing with you. So you know that if you put the things that I am going to talk to you about into practice, that they will work for you as well. And I think it's important for you to understand. So let me talk to you about my journey. I started in really 2010, starting the process of building my blog and also starting the journey of moving my blog from just being a part-time blog to a full-time business. Now, in 2010, like most people, I loved my work, but I hated my job. And what I mean by that is that I loved marketing. That's what I've been doing. And I had been doing it for 17 years up to that point, but I really hated waking up at the crack of dawn, not seeing my kids in the morning, driving 45 minutes in a hellish commute to a job to sit in endless brainstorm meetings and listening to people that I really didn't respect and working for clients that I really didn't like all that much. A couple of them I enjoyed, but I really felt like I was not hitting my potential. Okay. So, like you, probably love my work, but I hated my job. In April of 2010, I started Pushing Social. And in June of that year, I got my first big retweet by Copyblogger. And I say my first big retweet is because Copyblogger at that it still is one of the top blogs out there. And a retweet from Brian Clark at Copyblogger brought about 2,000 people to Pushing Social within 24 hours. It literally crashed my server the first 5 or 10 minutes that he made that retweet. And that really put me on the map for a lot of people. He retweeted a blog I wrote, which was Lady Gaga's 8-point guide to spectacular blogging. So that really got me on the map and got things moving. And then I earned my first dollar from an ebook that I offered in November of 2010. So that was my official first dollar, is my official first day of actually earning money as a business from pushing social. I was still working full time at my job. I was moonlighting and trying to kind of grow my blog after hours, like a lot of people. And in that first year, I had about 55,000 page views. So 55,000 views of my blog. That roughly works out to about the same amount of people during that 12, or I should say, is probably what, 8 months there. Okay, so 55,000 page views. And then I went into the next year in January, and I started a process of really just rigorously and systematically researching every successful blog out there, not only in our space, which is, social media. So I looked at Social Media Examiner and Mashable, but I also looked at blogs outside of the niche, Man versus Debt, for example, in personal finance arena. I looked in the home improvement arena, the mommy blogger arena. I was really obsessed with understanding what were these blogs doing that made them successful. And not just successful from a popularity standpoint, but successful as businesses, because I wanted to take all of that information and really ingrain it and hardwire it into pushing social. And then my research from that standpoint, I started to take it and really encode it into pushing social. So I really started to systematically take my research of those successful blogs and put them into pushing social. And then in September, I started what I call aggressive audience building. I really understood some of the key pieces, some of those key steps that we'll be talking about tonight. And I started to really put them into practice with aggressive audience building. And it started to bear fruit. For the 12 months in 2011 to 2012, I had 156,000 page views. So I was able to add 100,000 page views, or about 100,000 visitors, to my audience during that time period. But things really started to take off in 2012. The first month of 2012, I was named a top 10 blog winner by Social Media Examiner. So that was key. Also, one of my key goals for pushing social was to write a book. Okay, so I really wanted to increase and grow an audience. So my book publisher would take a chance on me and actually offer me a contract for a book, and along with help with from Mark Schaefer, I was able to do that in March of 2012. And then in August, I went full time. Okay, so August 1st, first day working full time for pushing social. I would like to say that was probably my I would probably say that was probably my scariest day and my most rewarding day. And it's been getting better ever since. Okay. So August, I went full time. And in last year, 2012, I went from 156,000 page views to 447,000 page views. And how that happened is that a lot of that aggressive audience building and some of the things I'm going to be talking about tonight really started to kick in. And a lot of that research, that rigorous research I did on successful blogs and implementing that starting in March of 2011 started to pan out as well and really led to that huge increase in page views. Okay. And then in 2013, Born to Blog was published. And a lot of people ask me, Stan, did you really see your traffic zoom up after your book was published? And no, I didn't. Okay. Still to this day, Born to Blog is really important. I really love that book, and I've really met some incredible people, but it hasn't contributed a lot to my traffic. It's contributed a lot to my authority and a lot to my popularity in the social media circles, but it really did not really impact the page views of the blog or the visitors of the blog. What really was most important for that, it was just that steady, systematic executing of the plan. Okay, that I'll take you guys through tonight. So now, August, I just had my 1 year anniversary of pushing social, being solo, and I love the work and I love the job. So that is something that I really, really am inspired by. And I want to show you how to do that as well. Okay, so let's just dive right in here. First step in turning your part time blog into a full time business is start with a proven skill. Okay, now I'm going to warn you right off the bat. I am not part of what I call the passion crowd. I really believe that you have to start with something that your customers are willing to buy. Okay, customers buy expertise. Now, you can be passionate about what you do, but if you're not all that good at it, then you're not going to make money at it. Okay, so customers buy expertise. And another reason is I want you to start with a proven skill is because beating the current experts takes entirely too long. Okay, so one of the things that I did is that I was in marketing and advertising, and I actually have been building websites and I have been helping large companies like Ford and small companies as well as startups out in California ever since 1996. So when I started doing social media and talking about blogging and content marketing, I had already built up some capital from my background in marketing. Okay, and I was able to use really a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experiences and bake that into a lot of my blog posts. So people really understood right from the beginning that I had that expertise. And I think that was important. Okay. But if I were to start a blog on, let's say, yoga, it would be almost impossible for me to break through because there's a lot of experts in that area already. And I would have to start from ground zero with a new skill. Okay. So I would say that the common mistake here is starting a business requiring entirely new skills. Okay. That just takes a lot of time to build up. What you want to do is take the long view and start with a proven skill. And then once you do well with that proven skill, maybe you can move into something that's new for you or something that you're just learning, but you're not in a position where you're trying to earn money and feed your family and put food on the table and pay the mortgage with a business that is trying to break through on something you're just learning. Here's what you need to do. Number one, leverage your current skills. I call that career capital. I borrowed that um, uh, uh, from the book. Let me remember that book's name. It's called Too Good to Ignore. Okay, so good, too good to be ignored. Okay, and I think that's a great book. I'll show you a screenshot of it in a second. But the author of that book talked about career capital. Okay, and that is the skills you've learned over your career to date. And if you're going to start a business around new skills, just be realistic that it's going to take a lot longer for you to prove to your audience that you have that expertise. And I like to say, give yourself expert training time for those new skills. Build that in. So start with a proven skill. How do you do that? Okay, so when I say leverage your current skills, ask yourself, what part of your job do you love? What projects are you consistently asked to do? Because people just know that you're the best at it. And what do others feel that you're talented at? And I like to say, ask not your family and friends, but ask people that are your colleagues, okay, and people that you interact with, maybe your current clients, and say, hey, what are some of the things that you feel like I'm particularly good at? Those are the things that people will pay you money to do. What duties are consistently pop out on on your resume. So when you look at your resume, look from job to job, and what is it that you seem to always be slotted into doing? And that's probably because you've built up that capital. It's probably a very valuable skill, and I would like you to start there. Okay, in terms of building your blog and then building your business. Okay. So that book is by Cal Newport. It's so good they can't ignore you. It's a terrific book. And in this book, Cal talks about the people who have a craftsman mindset. So they have a skill and they spend years building it. And people recognize that skill. And when they start blogs and then they turn those blogs into books or they turn those blogs into businesses, people are feel comfortable paying for those skills because they've built up that career capital. So really take a look at that. And if you have new skills, that's no problem. I'm just saying is that if you're going to have a new skill, just be realistic that you're going to have to build in time to go from being an apprentice to being an expert. Okay, so people buy experts, they don't buy apprentices. And I think a lot of people make that mistake. All right. So if you're going to have a new skill, get yourself a training calendar. Say that, hey, it's going to take you 2 years to really get good at what you do and prove that you're good at what you do. I have here kind of a training calendar of 24 months. Let's say that's 1,000 hours. That will be 90 minutes a day. And really, if you want a new skill, and if you can't find the time to really refine your skill, so if you want to, let's say you want to start a business being a personal organizer. If you're not going to put in the time to really learn the theory behind it and then just start practicing and bringing on clients or talking to people and going in and doing free organization of their basements or their garages or their attics to really learn how to do this well, then you may not be cut out for the business. Okay. So I think it's important that you invest that time in learning your craft. Next thing is that don't train in public. Okay. I think a lot of people say, okay, here's what I'm going to do with my business. I am going to, let's use the same example, be a personal organizer. It's a new skill. And what they do is they put up a blog and they say to their audience, I'm learning how to do this. So come to my blog and learn and go along with me on my journey. Okay. The problem is that your audience is going to be made up of people who don't look at you as an expert. They look at you as a peer. So when it comes time for you to actually go out and turn some of that audience into clients, they don't really see you as an expert. They just see you as just another person who does organizing. Okay, so don't train in public. Okay, so if you want to write a journal about your process, that's fine. That's good book material. Okay, but really hold off on training in public. Not a good thing to do. And if you don't have the expertise, but you really want to go into the business, I'm going to say partner. Okay. Find somebody who's already there. Okay. Partner with them. And then their expertise will rub off on you. You'll have that credibility. You'll have that positioning just because you've partnered with that person, and you can start co-authoring blog posts, for example, co-authoring content, and you're able to build your business that way. And that's a successful model. A lot of people do that. They go out and find a partner who is great at what they are looking to do, and they work together and they build that brand together. So the next step is don't quit your job until you have an audience. Okay. So I say quit with an audience. And if you remember back to the slide I showed you, is that I really didn't quit my full-time job until I had a substantial audience, over 200,000 people visiting my blog. All right. And with an audience, I was able to slowly start testing product ideas. And you need an audience to do the same. The common mistake here is trying to build an audience and sell a product at the same time. Okay, that's really hard to do. You put yourself in a really bad position if you don't know what your product is or if your audience will buy from you until you actually need the money. Okay, so really start off with your audience. So how do you go about building that audience? How do you go from 55,000 page views to having over 100,000 page views or 400,000 page views? And that really is about aggressive blogging. And I'll talk a little bit about this in just a second. Aggressive influencer courting and aggressive partnering. I'll just touch on blogging and influencer courting because I really think that that's where you need to start off with. Okay. So with aggressive blogging, is number one, understand that blogging is the fastest way for a person like you to grow an audience. Okay. It's for the little guy or the little gal. You can't go out there and buy television advertising. Not most people can't do that. It takes a lot of money, or have a radio show, but you can start blogging and you can really grow an audience. I didn't have a television commercial or an audience or a reality show. I just had my blog, but I was able to grow that audience. Okay. And how you go about doing that, what I mean by being aggressive, is first of all, put away the whining. Okay, put away all the excuses. You're going to have to blog as much as you can at the highest quality you can. There's no getting around this. If a person says to you that you can blog once a week only, okay, and build an audience in 12 months, they're lying to you. Okay, you can't do it. You're going to have to really understand that you're going to have to set aside the time to blog maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Okay, and you're going to have to do it at the highest quality as you can. Now, here's the secret. The more you blog, the better you get. The more you write, the better your writing becomes. The better your writing becomes, the more people talk about it, more people mention it, share it, and the faster your blog grows. Okay. Somebody commented in the questions that, wow, there's a huge increase in my audience between year 2 and year 3. Okay. And the reason why is because I got better because I blogged a lot. All right. So in 3 years, I've had 500 blog posts. So you're going to have to really build or invest in the process. So live with a calendar. Okay. Put together your editorial calendar and just get up and grind out those posts. You'll get better at it and you will start to see your growth, which will give you that feedback to kind of stick in there. Write every day, but post 2 or 3 times a week if you can do it. All right. At first, it might scare you, but you will be amazed at how quickly you'll be able to build up to that tempo once you start doing it. I say write every day because this is a craftsman mentality. Okay. You just want to really get good at creating your content, and you could do that by practicing at it every day. I like to tell people to set quantity goals, not feedback goals. And this looks like this. Say, I will write 20 high quality posts this month versus I'm looking for good feedback and engagement, because when you're a part-time blogger, you're not going to get a lot of good feedback and engagement. You may not get a lot of good comments. And if you tie the success and your motivation to getting that feedback, you're going to burn yourself out. Instead, to say, listen, I'm going to write 20 posts this month. And I really don't care if I get a comment. I don't care if I get a retweet. I'm doing 20 blog posts this month. Why? Because the more blog posts I write, the better I'll become. The more blog posts I write, the higher chance I have of hitting a post that does really well and goes viral. And the more blog posts you get, the more of your pages get indexed by Google, and more likely you're going to get free traffic. Okay. So that's why you want to set these quality goals versus these feedback goals, or they don't work as well. All right. The next thing is aggressive influencer courting. I have to tell you guys, when I started pushing social, I identified 10 or 15 people that I felt like if they believed in pushing social and they promoted pushing social or mentioned it, then my blog would do well. Copy Blogger is one of them. And I stalked them. Okay, in a legal way, but I stalked them. I learned what they wanted to write about, what they were not writing about, what their audience wanted. And I made sure that I did whatever I could to get that influencer's endorsement. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to find influencers with an audience. Good places to start is authors, speakers, successful bloggers, entrepreneurs. Okay. You want to find those people in your niche, put them in an Excel spreadsheet, and make it your mission to find out all you can about what they're doing online and what they're trying to achieve. Spend money to get on their radar. That was one of the things that I did at first that I felt like I wasn't so sure about, but then when I started investing in these influencers courses and their membership programs, I had a budget, but I did invest. And what that bought me was access. Okay, I bought into a private forum run by one of my influencers. And guess what? He was there every night from 8 to like 11 o'clock at night. And I was trading answers. I was trading questions back and forth. I was commenting on his posts. And I was able to start a really good relationship. That influencer turned around and he frequently mentioned pushing social. Why? Because I had invested in him and he was willing to invest in me. That is one thing that a lot of people are missing today. Okay. A lot of people are missing that. They think that if they show up and they hit the retweet key, that somehow the influencer is going to remember them. They might, but you need to invest in them. Okay. And that's how they are able to separate the people who want the free stuff from the people they really want to support. Invest in long term systematic relationships. So, the reason why I say you should find your influencers and you should only maybe pick 5, 6, 7 of them, maybe 10 of them, like I did, is that so you can, on a weekly basis, go in there and build that relationship. Think of it as a dating relationship. You're courting them. Okay. So this could be frequent comments. I have one influencer that I signed up. I really believed in his product. And I signed up to be an affiliate or somebody who would market their product in exchange for a commission. And I sent hundreds of dollars of sales. to this day to that person, and we're good friends. And he's actually he actually gave me a testimonial for my book. So this is something that I really invested in, and it's paid off. All right. So I've been talking a mile a minute. You guys still with me? You still here on this? Say amen if you're with me. Good, good. You guys are. Is this resonating with you? Are you getting something out of this? Out of this so far? Just talk to me. Good, great. All right, so let's keep going here. The third step is make your first dollar. That first dollar is the hardest to make. I can guarantee you're going to struggle to make that first dollar. But once you do it once, you could do it twice. And if you could do it twice, you can do it three times. Okay. I built my business a dollar at a time. So will you. Okay. So let's talk about that. The reason why is that if you can make money, you need to be able to determine if you can make money before you need to make money. All right. You don't want to be in a position where you need to make money from your blog and you haven't made a dime before the day that you needed that. Okay. You really build this up over time, because a common mistake here is waiting until the perfect time to start selling. And a lot of people, I see this advice kind of float around like, you know what? You don't want to sell anything to your audience until you built rapport and you built a relationship. And the question I always ask these folks is, how do you know that you built rapport and you built a relationship? And they go, well, I know when I start getting a lot of comments. And I go, do you know that only 1% of your audience will ever comment? All right. So if you're waiting for a groundswell of comments to start selling, then you're going to be waiting a long time, because you can have an active and engaged audience and they will never comment. All right. So there is not a perfect time to start selling. Start selling now. Okay. The best time to start selling was yesterday. The next best time to start selling is today. All right. So start doing it, because you need to know if you have a skill that people are willing to buy. Okay. Pay for. And I'm not talking about your friend. If you go to your friend and say to them, hey, listen, would you buy personal organizing advice from me? Your friend is going to look at you, because they love you. They're going to say, yep, I'll buy that from you. Don't look at your husband and say, will you buy this from me? He's going to say, if he's trained, yeah. Okay. So these are not the people you want to ask. You want to ask perfect strangers if they're willing to take out their wallet and give you part of their hard earned money. That's the people you need to talk to. Okay. So what to do? Find a problem, create and sell a quick and dirty solution. And then once you get that first dollar with that solution, refine it. All right. Let's dig into that a little bit more. First of all, you want to find a problem. So what problem do people routinely ask you to solve? Okay. People routinely ask me to solve problems with their blog, problems with their business marketing. Okay. I get this in church. I get this when I'm sitting watching my kid play soccer. I get this at PTO meetings. People always ask me this. All right. They know I can solve that problem. You have something similar. All right. And you may want to just decide, if you're having trouble kind of figuring this out, just think about the things that is ridiculously easy for you to solve. What problems are just ridiculously easy for you to solve, but incredibly hard for other people to figure out? Okay. So I can sit down and write a blog post in 15 minutes. Some people, that's just impossible to do. Okay. That's a talent. That's a skill. You have something similar. Okay. Also, another thing that you can do is you can put in how to and help with searches. So figure out your problem that you feel like you can solve, and then you can start doing research about how, if other people have that problem, by putting in how to do X. How to crate train a puppy. How to potty train a kid. Those are really good searches that you can do. They're how to searches. All right. And here's an example of how to organize business finances. You'll get a lot of great questions around it. You also will start to find the influencers around that, and you can do your influencer courting. Okay. The next thing is sell a quick and dirty solution. All right. So get the sell first and create the business second. All right. When I sit down and I talk to small business owners or people who want to start small businesses, and I have the privilege of talking to a person like this almost every day when they're starting off their business, I often hear about them building the business at scale. So they talk about their office space and the equipment they need and the advertising they're going to buy. And they already have built this huge investment up in their business, but they haven't made the first sale. Okay. And for you, I want you to go out there and I want you to make that quick and dirty sell. All right. So, Chris, find that quick and dirty sell that you can do. It's not elegant. You're just going to make that money. Okay. Gene, you're going to make that first dollar. All right. So, when I first started off, I sold an ebook, but I really started to make some money with my blog reviews. Now, folks, let me tell you about my first few blog reviews. They were 60-minute videos and 20 slide PowerPoints. And I sold it for $27. It took me 3 hours to make a $27 sell, basically. Now that's crazy, isn't it? That's just a quick and dirty solution to a problem. The problem is my blog decent? Okay. Now, that's been refined. Okay. So I've gone in and I've been able to refine that down to a really good product that I offer for more money, but people really like it. Okay. So I refined it afterwards. I've built a business around it after I've been able to figure out how to sell it. Okay. You need to do the same. And then after you kind of get that quick and dirty sell, you want to invest in saving time and increasing the quality. And I like to say, do that after you've sold your first 10 products. Because after you've done it the quick and dirty way for 10 products, you're going to automatically start coming up with ways to do it better. Okay. Some of the ways you can do it better is that you can automate it. Second thing is that you can delegate certain portions of that sell that you're making, and you can do that with a virtual assistant or a VA. There's some great VAs out there. If you want a VA that is really good at what she does, send me an email, reply to one of my webinar emails, and I'll give you her name. Her name is Helena, and she's really, really good at what she does. Or you can systematize. Okay, you can do a step-by-step checklist, and you can work through that checklist until it's just down and it's automatic. You're able to deliver that service or deliver that product in a way that's consistently high quality, allows you to lower the price, get more sales. Okay, that's how you can refine it after you've made that first quick and dirty sale. All right. So here's the next piece. And this is the piece that people don't do. Number 4, people don't do it. And it is probably the most important thing you need to do before you even start blogging. It's this: study your customer relentlessly. And if you've been following Pushing Social for more than a week, you know that I'm going to talk about this again and again and again and again because it's so important. It is the secret sauce, it's the silver bullet, people. You need to study your customers because they will tell you what they will buy. All right. So customers have your income, they have it in your pocket, in their pocket, they have it in their wallet, they have it in their purse, and they need a reason to give it to you. All right. And you can't just say, well, you know what? I'm going to offer you a great service. No, they want to know why they need to give it to you. And the common mistake is, and this feels good, but it is lethal. It's following your gut. I've been marketing for almost 20 years now. And the one thing I don't trust is my gut. Okay. I always go out and find research of what people want because people are, they will surprise you, okay, of what they will buy. So here's what you need to do: you need to start going to forums, you need to go to meetups, you need to hang out in Twitter groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. Heck, if you run a local business, you need to join your chamber of commerce and go to every event that you can, because what you need to do is that you need to start understanding what your customers want and how they express their need. That's super important. So let's talk about how to do this. Forums. So you can join and lurk in forums. Now, people don't talk about forums anymore, but they're still out there and they're still huge and they're still important in a lot of different niches. Okay. And if you don't have a forum, that's fine, because a lot of these forums have migrated over to Facebook groups. Facebook groups are super popular. LinkedIn groups for the business to business and professional crowd. You can go and lurk in those, ask questions. Okay. And really, what you want to do is you want to find out who the key influencers are. So you can go back and do that aggressive influencer courting that I talked about earlier. Don't overtly promote ever. Okay. The quickest way to become that jerk at the party. Okay. You always know that jerk at the party who is super excited by the latest network marketing thing, and they always pigeonhole you in the corner and they want to try to sign you up as a distributor. Well, you're going to be that jerk if you promote in forums. Don't do it. Okay. You don't have to do it. What you want to do instead is that you want to be a resource, be the first one to answer a question if you have a good answer. Okay. First person to offer a resource. People will recognize you and they will silently and quietly kind of go over to your blog, check it out, and they're going to become customers. Okay. So that's key. I did this. I joined about 3 forums and I spent about 2 to 3 hours a week in those forums being a resource. It absolutely was key to really improving my authority and credibility, but also getting more people to my blog. And if you have new skills, okay, and I put this here again because I was quickly putting this slide together, so I'm repeating this, but you can forget all of this because we already went over that, okay? So forums, I think, is a key piece. I want to go back because I want to talk to you about one quick thing here. Okay, here we go. So meetups. Meetups are, if you go to a site called meetup.com, okay, meetup.com, it will show you groups of people who have self-organized in your community or in your state, okay, and they have met, they form up and they form informal groups and they list these groups and meetups. So you'll have people who meet up because they're IT professionals, or moms who meet up. You will have people who meet up and do robotics. You have people who meet up who like to bass fish. These are also great informal real life networks that you can get a part of. So you really want to do that. Twitter, there's something called tweet chats. You may have already heard of them, but you want to do a search for tweet chats in Google and it will give you a spreadsheet. There's usually a spreadsheet that comes up as the first result that will show you all of the tweet chats. And a tweet chat is simply this: a group of people with the same interests get together, okay, and they use one hashtag, one tweet chat that I always used to go to. I don't go there as much anymore, but it's still a fabulous resource. It's called Blog Chat. And if you do a search in Hootsuite or TweetDeck or in Twitter for the hashtag blog chat, you will see that everybody gets together, and I think it's 9 o'clock on Sunday night, and that's all they do is talk about blogging. Okay, so that is a great resource there, and of course you can do a search for Facebook on Facebook or LinkedIn for the groups that they have there. Okay, so that's how you can do that. All right, so let's move on. Plug the leak in your reader bucket, and this is number 5. All right, and what I mean by this is, number one is that repeat readers are more likely to become first time customers. All right. I really spent a lot of time when I first was growing Pushing Social, really finding out what readers wanted to see, what they responded to, what they came back to the blog for. Okay. So I kind of intuitively understood, and I also saw from looking at other successful blogs, is that they really spend a lot of time courting those repeat readers. Why? Simply because those people oftentimes become your first time customers. So the common mistake here is new reader fixation. Sometimes when I talk with people about their blog, I ask them, when's their number one goal? And they go, more readers. And I go, how many readers do you currently have? And they go, oh, I'm not really sure. And I always know that at that point, that new reader fixation has set in. Okay. It's very hard to get a new reader, but it's very easy to maintain an existing reader. So when I say plug the leak in your reader bucket, don't allow people to kind of leak out and not come back to your blog. What to do? Invite your readers back to your blog with an update list. I'm a big believer in email. You may say, Stan, I don't want you to talk about email anymore, but I'm going to talk about email because it's super important, because email is a great way of getting people to come back to your blog to consume more content and to learn more about why you are an expert in your area and what services that you have for them. Ask questions. Why do you enjoy this blog? On a regular basis, I email my readers one at a time. I say, why do you come back to Pushing Social? The information I've gotten from my readers has allowed me to write better blog posts, write better types of blog posts that attract them back to the blog and also get them to share. Okay? So ask questions of why do you enjoy this blog, and know which posts create repeat visits. All right. You really need to dig into your analytics, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second so you can get a feel for which posts are your clear winners. Okay. And I think that's going to be key for you. So this is how you do it. First of all, you want to pull up Google Analytics. Google Analytics should be your new best friend. All right. And I've talked about blogging by the numbers, and this is what I mean by that. There's a plugin, if you're on WordPress, called Google Analyticator, that if you just do a search for that plugin and install that plugin, it will automatically set up your blog so you can start getting good Google Analytics information. Okay, so here is just a quick snapshot of my Google Analytics report. And this report, you can find it if you are using Google Analytics, you can find it under your content section of your blog. Okay. And in the content section, you can run a quick report that shows you your top 10 blog posts. Okay. So I just pulled up my top 10 blog posts for this year. And you can see that there's 50, number 3 here is 50 blogging ideas to steal and take credit for. Okay. That has been a blog post that's done extremely well. Now, the 4th top one is 17 crazy places to get jaw-dropping headline ideas. And number 5 is top 7 tips to create killer vlogs, video blogs. Okay. Now, just doing a quick glance at that, you probably can come to a couple conclusions. Number 1, list posts still rule. They rock. Okay. And you will hear bloggers just whine and complain. I hate doing list posts. List posts are not great blog posts. List posts are not epic. Hush. Do them. They work. Okay. And they work because your readers like them. Readers, when they see a list post, they go, wow, I'm going to be able to do a quick scan and get some great information. And it won't take me a lot of thinking time to parse what this person is trying to say. That's why your readers like them. Okay. And you can take a look over in the average time on page in that 3rd column on the far right hand side. You can see that people spend time with those posts. Okay. So that's another great thing. Also, you can do a look at number 6 and then at number 7. You can see there that how to build a blog, how to get your first 1,000 blog readers. How to is still a potent phrase for attracting readers and repeat readers. Okay, so you definitely want to use your Google Analytics to pull out this type of insight that you can turn back into great things, great blog posts. Okay, and this report just is really showing me what is popular, and I can do another report that showed me what my repeat visitors like to see. And that's another great way of making sure you can plug the leak in your bucket. All right. The next thing is, and you guessed it, I'm going to talk about starting an email update list. Okay, so you want to get obsessed with getting subscribers and pulling them back to your blog on a regular basis. So many people set up their email subscriber blog update button or form and they forget it. Okay, and I always know these folks because they always have weak lists and they always have a blog that they can't monetize. Okay, so what I'm not talking about is this. Get updates via email, enter your email address, subscribe. That sucks. That doesn't work. All right. It just doesn't work. People have seen it before. There's no reason. You haven't told me why I should get updates. You're not going to tell me what you're going to send me. You just ask for my email address and you have that dry subscribe button. It doesn't work. Okay. What you want to do is something like this. Free course. Double your traffic in 30 days plus secret bonus. Okay. Yeah, let's start the free course. In this particular opt in, the people also are signed up for email updates. All right. But this person has taken the time. This is at quicksprout.com by Neil Patel, who is a ninja when it comes to these types of forms. And he does really, really well with this. Another one is sign up for the Shoe Money newsletter. This guy is extremely popular, has a blog that he's been able to monetize into almost $1 million business. And this is what he has. Okay. It's not as fancy as that first one, but it gets the job done. It's a heck of a lot better than the one that just says get updates via email. All right. So do this. If you don't know how to do it, hire someone, but you got to get it done, folks. You just have to get it done. When you leave this webinar, don't leave and not take action on your email list. All right. So I've already had one person or two people kind of drop off because I'm sure they're going to go, oh, I heard this email stuff before. Nope, you haven't. If you heard it before, you're not doing it, then you need to do it. All right. It's key. All right. So the day I left my job and I started pushing social, I sent out an email to my list. I had a list. All right. I sent out an email to my list and I asked them, could I set up interviews with people to talk about what they needed? Okay. And that's how I was able to start the business. I was able to do that because I had a list. All right. We're almost done. Number 6, build your product funnel. All right. Because successful businesses are built on systematically manufacturing customers. Okay. And when I say manufacturing customers, I don't mean it in a really robotic or automated way. I'm just saying is that they are really good at understanding what attracts people to their business and how they can turn them from strangers into ambassadors and fans. So the common mistake here is having a one-trick pony marketing. Okay. And one-trick pony marketing is that you always try to shove something in your sidebar and you're hoping that an ebook will build your business. And you actually need more than just an ebook to build your business. Okay. So you don't want to do one-trick pony marketing. You want to set up a systematic process of taking a person from being a lead to being a customer. So what do? First thing is you want to sketch out your funnel. Okay, you want to understand how are you taking people through a process of just reading your blog to getting them to subscribe, getting them to purchase an entry product, and so on. We'll talk about that in just a second. Okay. Next thing is you want to understand your metrics. You want to understand what is the conversion ratio between people who come to your blog and people who sign up, and people who sign up and then people who buy. If you know those numbers, you can start improving them. And then you want to be able to quickly test tactics for each stage of the funnel. Okay. So, how? First, here's how I did it. I started with a free starter product. Okay. And it was a special report. It was, let me remember my first one because I've changed it, but my first one was the 7-minute block strategy. Okay. I built a list of about 1,000 people who downloaded that particular report. It was great because I was starting to understand what my audience wanted to see. The next thing is create an inexpensive step-up offer. So something that has a little bit more meat to it than a special report. It's something that I'm sorry, I'm losing the word, something you would charge for. Okay. So in this case, this is a $7 ebook in my case. All right. Just a little step-up offer, not a lot of money, but let me know the people in my list, people in my audience who is willing to pay for help. 3, create your core product or service. So this is your flagship service where you're going to be making most of your money with. All right. And the idea here is that your ebook generates demand for that core product. All right. The next thing is you want to create a premium version of your product or service. So this is a step up. So if you're offering a service or you're offering, let's say, a course, a video course, your premium version of that could be video course plus one-on-one coaching with you, for example. So that is what you want to do. But this creates a nice funnel. All right. And once you have it in place, then you're going to be looking at how do you increase conversion from one step to the next. So going from a free starter to a step up offer, okay, that conversion is how do you increase your conversion there is usually you need a little bit better copywriting and you probably need a better offer that usually will increase your conversion from 1 to 2, and going from 2 to 3 you probably want to look at your offer and make a more specific and relevant offer. A lot of times people make general offers that don't convert as well, okay, so you may want to take a look at that or how you present it in your ebook, for example. Another thing is increasing conversion from your core product to your premium version, and how you do that. The most practical way of doing that is offering outstanding service or value, okay? Over deliver. And that's a great way of finding the people who are willing to say, okay, I'm going to use your premium version because I got great value with your core product. And I'm sure I'm going to get even better value when I make that step up. Okay. The last one is be stingy. All right. Here's why. Cash gives you time to find your profitable product. All right. Now, this is not when I first started pushing social, especially in that first month when I was going full time, I was stingy on things that did not make me money. Okay. But I spent and I invested in things that I knew would make me money. Okay. So, what I mean by being stingy, though, the common mistake here is confusing expenses with assets. Okay. Expenses eat cash, business cards eat cash. Okay. Fancy new laptop computer eats cash. A retail or an office eats cash. Okay, if you don't need it, then why spend the money on it? Cash is king. You want to have as much cash around because it gives you the time to figure out what's going to work for you. Okay, assets pay cash. One of the most difficult decisions I had to make is I bought a very sophisticated email service solution. Why? Because I knew that my business was going to be built on doing really good email campaigns. And I had seen through all those successful blogs that I looked at in the beginning that they all did email very, very well. So I spent a substantial amount of money investing in my email infrastructure. Some months it really hurt, but that asset has delivered a return on investment. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Invest in speed. One of the things that really breaks my heart is when people say, and they think it's a smart move to spend 2 years trying to figure out how to put up a mediocre blog. Okay, you don't have to do that. Invest in speed. You are not investing in learning how to put up a blog. You're investing in writing great blog posts, writing great content, and getting people to become subscribers and customers. So invest in having someone get that up for you as quickly as possible. Invest in feedback. Okay. I actually invested in coaching my first month out of the gate to make sure they told me the things I had overlooked. All right. And setting up my business correctly. Okay. So invest in feedback and buy quality assets and scale with profit. So if you're going to invest in an email system, get the best email system you can afford, and then you can scale up from there. Okay. So that is how you could be stingy. All right. So I don't, to this day, I don't have business cards. Okay. Because I really, for the type of business I do, that is just an expense. All right. I don't invest in fancy computer equipment, stuff like that. You can be stingy there, but I do not skimp on, or I'm not a penny wise, but a pound foolish. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. So be stingy. Cool. So that's the 7 steps to going from a part-time blog to a full-time business. All right. So I'm glad you guys stuck in with me. Everybody has been great. I've seen questions come in. One thing I want to let you know is that if you're kind of going, Stan, you told me so much stuff and it's swimming in my head, and I would like you to apply it to my business or talk me through it. I do have my coffee with Stan offer. You can go to it there. It's a great way to get me on the phone for 30 minutes to talk about your business. Okay. So let's move on to Q&A. I'm really excited to kind of see what you guys, what questions you guys have. And I will stay on as long as I need to answer everyone's questions. So please give me your questions. Everything is everything is allowed. I'll answer as many questions many different questions as I can. All right. good. Let me see here. Turn off